Well, hello, and thank you, everyone, for joining us here today to talk about 7 reasons why successful rehabilitation agencies are moving Medicaid billing to the cloud. My name is Luke Arrington. I'm the marketing manager here at Vertex Systems, and I'm joined by our president and CEO, Sanford Chandler, who will be showing us some of the more practical applications for the concepts we'll be exploring today. Sanford, thank you so much for being here and taking the time.
Thank you, Luke. Good to be with you today.
Great. Well, the first thing I want to draw your attention to are the handouts that we've included. I hope that those are easy enough to navigate to for you. They simply serve to tell you a little bit more about Vertex Systems and how we might connect to your work that you do every day. And I hope that they're helpful to you as you make decisions. So let's jump right in. Defining success for rehabilitation agencies. What is it? A quick Google search will tell you that success is defined as achieving a desired aim. And so the question is, what are we aiming for? Some of you might say we want to go paperless. Others might say that you want to save admin time and money, or foster HIPAA compliance, or even increase service utilization. And each of those are great targets to shoot at because they're actionable and they're achievable. And now that we have our aim, whatever that might be for you, the next question logically moves to how can moving my Medicaid billing to the cloud help me achieve those goals? And that's exactly what we want to answer today. And point number 1 is flexibility. Medicaid billing in the cloud is flexible enough to quickly address the governmental changes that often put rehab agencies behind. Nothing's more frustrating than gaining momentum, moving forward toward your goal, just to find yourself moving in the wrong direction because there was a change in a governmental regulation or rates or authorized services or billing requirements. The graphic that you see here on the slide shows a man trying to be flexible enough to adapt to governmental changes. He's ended up looking at his screen upside down and backward, which may be the sentiment many of you feel concerning those quote-unquote helpful governmental changes in recent years. And this is why it's a good idea to work with a trusted partner that can not only help you navigate through these detours and roadblocks, but also leverage the power of the cloud to improve your billing processes and really to scale with your organization and its growth and change. The flexibility of the cloud will help you keep that momentum as you move toward your goal. Now, Sanford, I know that Vertex Systems has helped so many organizations through the changing landscape of rehabilitation services. Could you give us an example of how Vertex Systems was able, because of Medicaid billing in the cloud, to help organizations like the ones represented here today?
Yes, Luke, I'd be glad to. We understand and we know that changes in government regulations is a given. When it comes to Medicaid, the changes seem to increase complexity on the way to improving. Vertex's job is to lessen the disruption you feel as you undergo what you must to accommodate those changes. We do that through great software design and deep domain knowledge about our customers' business processes. And we iterate, and we simplify, and we simplify, and we simplify what the software does and how customers have to interact with it. And we never rest until we have streamlined the entire process. We continually ask, why is that necessary? A lot. What we find is it's necessary to do, but often not for a person. The computer can do it better and without error. So we find all opportunities where we can take work from people and have it done by the computer, because the computer will do it right every time as opposed to most of the time. and requires far, far less oversight, and it's very easy then to know, is everything in order, because you can validate that at a very high level. Accurate results is the outcome with less administrative time and oversight needed, time that can be redirected to your mission.
Great. Appreciate that, Sanford. Moving on to point number 2. Medicaid billing in the cloud reduces the stress of an audit. And we know that feeling. We know that you know that feeling of stress that haunts you right at that moment when you think you might get a moment's peace. That word flashes in your mind, audit. Are we ready? What if there's mistakes in our documentation? What if compliance isn't met and we're required to pay with funds that we really don't have? We understand that stress, and we want to ensure that you don't have to live in that fear. Of course, we can't dismiss the inevitability of an audit, but we can offer a plan that minimizes the sideways energy that you expend and gets you back going after that goal that we talked about earlier. And so, Sanford, can you walk us through how Vertex Systems' ground-up approach to Medicaid billing helps to foster Medicaid and HIPAA compliance?
Yes, Luke. It may sound obvious, but the way to lower audit concerns is to prevent things that trigger audit exceptions. So our focus is all about that. And the best way to fix an error, a wise person told me, is never let it happen. So most of what software does, at least good software, is preventing errors from happening. So by preventing those errors and knowing you are ready for the audit because your systems enforce the rules and disciplines required, will mean less stress about the audit, particularly when you have confidence in those systems that are enforcing the processes and the outcomes. You do this constantly, even when you'd rather be working within the individuals. You literally expend hundreds of staff hours every month to be sure that certifications are in effect, needed documentation is in effect, billing is accurate, case files are up to date, and the list goes on. Through software, we can enforce those disciplines so that you can rest assured knowing that your rules are being carried out. This involves a myriad of manual processes in your current world with spreadsheets and other software, and untold hours by staff. You do this because regulations trump the mission. But what if this effort could be cut by 25%? Yes, even 50%. What if a lot of the processes could even be eliminated from having people do them because the software can do them? The set of tools and processes you use likely has some room for improvement. I suspect that some attending this webinar are here to learn how to make those additional improvements to your present systems. And I hope you can take some things from this. But we are here with the focus on a whole systemic approach to those improvements that are needed. The typical Medicaid billing and service delivery systems make many assumptions and rely upon your staff to do the rest. They rely upon other systems that are standalone and not integrated. They do not talk to one another, therefore they do not work well with one another, if at all. And the link is then the person that has to pull all that together. So the accuracy of the job then is tied to the person as opposed to the process. You might even have thought that it was reasonable to do what you're doing, or that there was no other way. I mean, after all, you spent huge amounts of time perfecting those processes. But what if there was a way? And what if those processes were all in one system that continually talked to one another? Your authorizations, the service plans, the billing claims, payments, rebills, write-offs, denials, attendance, planned and actual, service, planned and actual, and all variants thereof, all constantly interacting and letting you know where you need to spend time or what you need to do that produces meaningful results, as opposed to making sure that all parts are as you hope they are. Intuition enforces those rules and disciplines, so you only deal with the exceptions. What the direct service provider needs to do in order to complete their work, and what they need to do is always visible to them and to their manager or to others. Then you'll see some examples of how that visibility to the provider or to the team helps collaboration and producing a good outcome. At Vertex, we focus our energy on creating automated processes that work and help DSPs complete documentation with less time and more accuracy, so managers have to check less and worry less. You simply monitor the process and the results. Our software enforces the rules required to prevent audit exceptions. And we do this by enforcing rules for each service and funding source at all steps along the way, starting at the point of origin. And we do it in a complementary, non-intrusive way that accommodates the nuances of your business process and the jobs that people have to do. The entire process is easy for the direct service provider and works with them so that they can produce accurate results when they approve and send it on for others to review and to process. It is all about visibility and interaction of the processes so that everyone has what they need to do their job.
Great. Thank you so much, Sanford. Appreciate those insights. Want to look at number 3 here. Medicaid billing in the cloud allows staff to work from anywhere. And no one wants to be held captive by an outdated system, or worse yet, those dreaded paper timesheets. And moving to the cloud not only eliminates those, but it also means that you get to go mobile. And at Vertex, we believe the cloud is not about storage. It's about access. It's about people, and it's about processes. And by moving Medicaid billing to the cloud, your staff records information for documentation and billing, as Sanford said, from the point of service. And so, Sanford, can you tell us how billing in the Medicaid billing in the cloud helps to foster those better processes?
Yes. Use of mobile devices like smartphones and tablets with the right software and interface to collect documentation and outcomes allows the direct service provider to work more like they want to, where they want to, so that they produce the accurate records and documentation that you want to avoid those audit exceptions. You can't automate a process as a software developer unless you understand what that person has to do their job. And you have to understand it very well, because the person wants to do their job without the intrusion of software preventing them from doing what they have to do to get the result. The software needs to facilitate, not restrict. So our concept is aligned with many of what you already do. You plan attendance and service and schedule it so that you can know what it is that you have to provide, and that the direct service providers can easily confirm if it was provided as planned. So our software emulates that, so that making documentation is simply affirming that the plan happened the way that you anticipated, or the way that those last-minute adjustments were made at the moment of service. So you, again, deal with the exceptions. And then the direct service provider can make those brief notes at the point of service or later at the end of the day, or as time permits, meaning that the software allows latitude in terms of when those things occur and enforces that they must occur before it can be submitted and passed on to others. Typically, that final process by the direct service provider takes place at the end of the day. And once they electronically submit, then it's available to others and to all the systems for interaction. Meaning that because of all those rules and disciplines were enforced, what the billing staff has to do, or those people involved in the billing process, is hugely reduced, because units have already been extended, claims have been extended, they're in final format with only the few exceptions that need to be reviewed and corrected. And those exceptions are things like the valid rate expired yesterday and you didn't put the new rate in yet, or an authorization was received but it wasn't loaded and the other one ran out. So the system knows that it's a valid service, so it let it be provided, and now in order to go on to billing, it has to have the valid authorization. So it separates those different business processes so that they can each occur as they need to. Your staff then only deals with the exceptions, as we said. And then when those are dealt with, final billing takes place.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Sanford. I want to keep rolling here to point number 4, and we really can't talk about the cloud without talking about cloud security. So point number 4 is Medicaid billing in the cloud secures private health information. And to illustrate the then and now nature of the cloud, because the technology really has shifted and changed dramatically in recent years, I want to borrow an illustration from the innovation of flight. When the Wright brothers successfully demonstrated powered flight, it was certainly not the best or the safest way to travel from New York to LA, or really anywhere else for that matter. But now it's the safest and the fastest way to go anywhere in the world. And the same is true of cloud security. At one time, the cloud was an untested technology. Today, however, the cloud is the premier choice for security in businesses and nonprofits all over the world, because it's an affordable, trusted technology that leaves the job of security to high-level professionals. Sanford, you've been at this for a long time, and I mean a really long time. How have you seen increased security of the cloud help rehabilitation agencies like the ones we have here today?
Hey, thanks, Luke. I don't feel like it's been that long. It's been a lot of fun along the way, and still is. But the internet has revolutionized our lives in ways that we could have never foreseen. Clearly, I didn't foresee it, and it's brought untold improvements and conveniences. Now, whether teenagers in the same room texting to one another is an improvement, I won't even try to answer that here. That does amaze me, but I obviously don't understand. But security and protection of PHI, I do understand, and they have become huge issues that require constant oversight by professionals trained in the use of the methods and the protocols for that, to seek out weaknesses before they are found by others. Literally, our systems and people work 24/7 looking for weaknesses before they happen. And when you stop doing that, you then begin increasing the probability hour by hour that something will happen. That's the monitoring of security is something that is not a part-time job for anyone. And we've seen what can happen when oversight is taken for granted. Just reference recent breaches of security in the headlines. This is not a job for a part-time IT person. And it's a job that even the big boys like Yahoo take their eye off the ball and they forget for a moment. A corollary is airplane maintenance. Stop doing airplane maintenance and bad things don't happen tomorrow, but they will happen, just not right then. So you get a false sense of security. But I promise it will be a noticeable event when you learn that maintenance has failed. Security and security intrusion is the same. That's why we work 24/7 with our processes to make sure PHI and all information is secure. Now, the surprises is something that nobody wants. Most of you here would vote no on unforeseen budgetary cost, and by moving Medicaid billing to the cloud, you give yourself some control and of that and lower some existing cost. Let me share with you some of those views of the cost of the cloud versus premise. Now, our approach uses simply a single monthly fee that our customers pay for ongoing expense. For one monthly fee that is knowable, you know what all of your IT and expense is going to be for Medicaid billing or case management or whatever the processes are that you put in the cloud. You only have an upfront cost for training and implementation, and even that can be spread over the course of time if that is a better budget fit. Your responsibility then is simply a connection and an internet-ready device. When you contrast that to what costs can be for premise, there are many other factors that come into play. And this graph or chart illustrates in blue what the premise cost is for a situation, versus the cost of the cloud in gold or yellow. And there is no one formula that works the same across all applications of software in the cloud or the premise. Some vary greatly in terms of the savings, and there are those situations where premise is a better solution or a more cost-effective solution. Just in today's world, there are very, very few of those. And they certainly don't involve access of people to business systems when in the community, when outside the firewalls, when the servers are staffed by part-time people and limited budgets. So what research has shown is when you compare like for like with apples to apples, the cost of the SaaS solution is less over time. Now, I'll grant that sometimes people want not to include certain costs, but that's trying to get the answer that you want. You can exclude maintenance, but there will be a cost for not doing that maintenance at some point. And it is an uncontrollable in terms of how big it is. So what customers tell us these days is they want to go to the cloud, and they want everything to go there, and they know they've resisted it, and there are many reasons today, and the threat of security not being good enough was solved long ago. Luke?
Great, thank you so much, Sanford. Appreciate those points, and it really is a movement toward a better technology. Let's look at number 6. Medicaid billing in the cloud increases collaboration and accountability. And the strength here is that you get real-time updates, which help you learn about issues that help you do your job. We've all heard the question, do you want the good news or the bad news? And the answer for most high-level influencers, and certainly for C-level execs, the answer is yes. Yes to both. Whether it's good or bad, you want to know earlier and not later. And at Vertex, we often hear, we don't know how we did in terms of service utilization for the current month until the 15th of the next month. And for us, that is a very sad story to hear. And if that's your reality, there is hope. There is a better way and a better solution. Lastly, it helps because we can share the right and most relevant information quickly. The cloud alone will not help you get to your goal, but a cloud-based software solution focused on your entire service delivery process will give you actionable information so that you can be more effective. And so if you've been waiting for the big reveal, you're about to see it. I want to go ahead and turn it over to Sanford so he can show us how intuitive cloud-based technology designed for rehabilitation agencies can revolutionize the way that your agency operates. And Sanford, I would say no pressure, but I also know the value of what you're getting ready to deliver. So in fact, I think I may not have built it up enough, but will you show us how we can use this intuitive technology that is designed for rehab agencies?
Thanks, Luke. I'll try, and I know we've only got a few minutes here, so I'm going to throw a lot of points into a small amount of time. So bear with me if it feels like you're drinking from a fire hose, but I want you to appreciate the depth and breadth of all that we do. Access when and where needed on the device of your choice, with security and HIPAA compliance being a given. Simply stated, give everyone real-time access and real-time visibility to what they need to do their job. Let them know what it is, and then hold them accountable. And you will get the result you planned for. We follow that discipline and intuition. Just like you plan service and you take attendance and you record service and outcomes, we do the same in intuition. But we do it with systems that all interact, and we do it in real time with immediate feedback to all the stakeholders. Documentation not completed within a prescribed time is known not only to the direct service provider, but also to supervisory and management also that want to know. Visibility and daily oversight keep the focus on timely and complete documentation. And that's because with automated systems, it is easy to keep that daily focus and thereby keep everything working in concert and accurate information being made available to all in terms of where do you stand on the utilization by staff, by client, by service, by provider, by program, by any metric you want to measure it by. It's all there. Now, what I just described sounds huge. It must be unbelievable to some. I assure you it is not. And many customers can testify to that. I have been amazed at walking through the process that customers have to go through month after month just to stay in the game. And this graphic illustrates someone we worked with several years back that is a wonderful customer today. I'd like to think it's because of the massive amount of help that we've provided and how we've helped them save not only at their bottom line, but to drive top-line results also. Better top-line results as a result of automation. This diagram here details in their own words and in their own hand what they had to do to get out billing each month. Many, many different steps. Directors checking checkers. Directors providing more oversight, more hours to make sure that they got every unit that systems would allow them to get. And still they said we're leaving money on the table because we can't get information soon enough. And we're spending 192 hours per month to get a less than optimal result, followed by, you should have seen how bad it was 2 years ago, which I'm sure is true. Hence my statement earlier of how you work constantly on this. And they knew there had to be a better way. The better way is a simplified approach that intuition enables, like you see here. Collect and affirm that the time was provided. Enforce that discipline. Give providers an easy way to do that. And then have them electronically approve it, submit it for review, identify those exceptions at the billing office, and immediately generate the claim. And that generate the claim is all done without a manager or accountant or billing coordinator having to touch it. The system extends from the documentation to the final claim from the moment that claim is submitted. So billing becomes an act of oversight of resolving the exceptions and validating you have everything before you tell it to go ahead and electronically upload the claims. So much more to say there for those that want to engage more later. But let me show you a couple of ways that we help you get there, because we're talking about making things visible to all. On the left is an actual screenshot. I think this happened to be from a cell phone, where the person was recording progress against an objective. And that objective had to be done 2 times in a day, as you'll see there beside the not to touch other belongings. It's been done 0 times so far today. So maybe multiple people could be working on this objective, but when I record mine here, that'll be updated to say 1, so that the other people who are working with Kathy know that there is 1 more trial that's to be done on this objective. And when we've achieved both, we all know it. Now the scales that go with that for the measurement and the intervention are user defined, so they can be used as you want. If you want a plus minus, very simple scale as opposed to a measurement and intervention, it's simply a configuration change. So that kind of awareness amongst all players is but one thing that we do to foster accurate, timely documentation at the point of service. When that happens, and that all things that happen at the point of service then drive what you see over on the right, which is the performance of how we are delivering service day by day compared to what we planned to do, in this case for the week. So the red line is illustrating what the responsibility was in an area, and this could be a provider, a case manager, a manager, a program. It's however you're looking at this. But it's saying that for this area of responsibility, 290 hours of service were planned or scheduled, anticipated, and thus far through looks like 5/10, we have delivered 154 for the week, and we have 135 yet to go. So as each hour is recorded, this graph dynamically reports that result. So just one way where all the processes are working together. Similarly, at the next level in helping providers get their documentation and case notes and billing records all completed, each responsible person has a scorecard like you see here. And this card or chart shows all that a provider has to do in order to be current on all documentation. So this is showing at a high level for the day what I, as a provider or as a manager for that matter, and the people below me, this could also be reflecting that, what has to be done so that everything is complete. And as I would drill down into that, I would see the detail for that, and I would take action. So my job as a provider is simply get this list to nothing, so that nothing appears other than records I have today. But ideally, when I leave tonight, those would also be done, or I would finalize them in the morning. But it'll keep score and let me know and my manager know what we have to do to complete all this according to the rules and specifications, so that we don't have audit exceptions later. Okay? When you do these things, then it helps drive reporting for others. So this is a actual report that for utilization that is showing a case manager where services stand for each of their people that they're responsible for. Now, what I want to know as a case manager is, where should I be spending my time? Where do I have problems? I don't need to look at things that are in good stead. So the green 101 here for John Herzog, that is a trend index that's telling me it's green at 101, meaning a score of 100 is perfect delivery of service on a calendar basis, such that we're going to bill all units before the calendar runs out. So if I'm at 101, I am slightly ahead of that. So I might not have a full unit at the end of the month, but that's far better than leaving 5 or 10. So the goal of this is to always give you feedback every day to let you know where to spend time. And from this report, I know I need to look first at the 138 because I am over-delivering. And then for 11, I am greatly under-delivering this service. And in that case, I'm going to leave a lot of money on the table as opposed to running out of units for those scores above 100. So it's meant just to be a quick report, show you the red areas, work on those. If there are yellow or cautionary areas, then deal with those. And the green, ignore them. You're doing just fine. Score's great. Okay? And then finally, just another approach for those that want to look at utilization at a staff level. Our approach here is pretty simple. If you're paying a provider for 40 hours a week and you're expecting so many hours of service to happen, how does that come down at the end of each day, at the end of each week? Because if you're monitoring that and getting feedback on that, you know where the month is going to end because you're reacting to it every day or on a basis that will alter the outcome. So if I want 30 hours of service from a provider that I'm paying for 40 hours, I know what my gross margin is from that. So if I maintain that service delivery level, my P&L will be just fine. So again, tools that when used and when applicable can help people. Maybe this doesn't work for everybody, but that's why we have multiple tools that can be used in different ways. After all, the focus in my world is one thing: drive top-line revenue. Effort spent driving top-line revenue creates far more impact of a 1% movement than a 1% movement in the bottom line. Everything shows up on the top line. I only get a residual on the bottom line. So our systems are all about eliminating that administrative time and effort. Yes, that's the bottom line. That's the expense. That's important because there's huge gains we've demonstrated. But for those with time-limited authorizations and that don't know utilization and their utilization rate is low or totally unknown, we put focus on that so that you can drive that top-line revenue and know where utilization stands. So this is just another look at that same information that's saying yellow and blue, what we planned to deliver is what we actually delivered. We're 100%. Did Saturday and Sunday come along? Next week, we plan to deliver service for this client, but they were absent. So every day the deficit grew. When the client returned, we resumed delivery service, but thus far we haven't sought to make up for those units we did not deliver the preceding week. So then our goal is to give you feedback on and show you opportunities where you can make up this deficit. Now, obviously, if you're billing by attendance, you can't make up a day of attendance. But these systems are about those units that are driving the delivery of those service units, because they're going to expire if you don't deliver them in time, or they're going to be left on the table and unbilled, thereby doing nobody any good. So our system has automated all of those processes so they constantly interact and give you alerts in terms of the things you can do that will create the impact that you want. And you can stop doing those things that are required and unproductive, and start doing more of the things that produce better results and provide service to the individuals.
Well, great. Thank you so much, Sanford, for those insights. And that really was like drinking from a fire hydrant. But at this point, we need to go ahead and wrap up and move on to a Q&A time. And as those questions come in, I want to remind you that we have some handouts in this presentation that are available to you. Not only do we have the slides from the presentation available, but we also have our latest white paper offering, Why Software May Soon Be a Non-Negotiable for Rehabilitation Agencies, and also our service billing one-page product brochure that will give you some more insight into the features and benefits of what we've been talking about today. Okay, looks like we have first question here. Is it possible to implement in the cloud but still own the software? Sanford, could you help us out with that?
It is our perspective that if your cost matrix is such that that is a better benefit to you, because maybe you're going after grants or the like, we have a way to enable that so that you can own the software but still have it in the Vertex cloud. That is atypical, but it's a way we work with our customers to help them accomplish their goals.
Great. Great, thank you so much. We have another one here. Says, do you have an example of the type of success an agency could expect from this billing system?
Okay, I'm not sure exactly what's being asked. We haven't done a white paper, if that's the question. That is something that we've planned on doing. We just haven't been able to get around to it. We do have some excerpts of successes of customers, but nothing that we've formalized into a white paper of all of the facts and figures from the automation. But customers are only too happy to share their story with others.
Great. Great. I want to give just another minute if someone has a question. Another few seconds here. If I see one coming in, we want to make sure we get that answered. But even if not, I want to just go ahead and show you our contacts on the next slide here. Sanford Chandler, our CEO, of course, would be more than happy to talk with you, the one speaking here today, and also Jamie Bellamy, our regional sales manager, would be very happy to talk with you about the finer points of what Vertex systems can offer to rehabilitation agencies. And with that, I don't see any more questions coming in, so we're going to go ahead and close down. We are going to send a follow-up email so that you can have the video recording of this presentation and the handouts available to you. We'll make sure that we link that to the email that we send to you. But once again, thank you for being here, and we hope that you have a great rest of your day. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, everyone. It was our pleasure. Good day.